Ladies and gentlemen, owner of Meadow Spring Farm, Andy Bolliner.
I just want to welcome you all here tonight. This is not something that I ever dreamed we would do on this farm, but it's been quite an experience, and I think it's going to continue to be a great one. So we just feel very privileged to be hosting this. Still not 100% sure why we were chosen, but we're not regretting our decision to host it. So we just hope that you have a lot of fun. And one quick plug for dairy farmers, just remember to drink your milk, everyone, okay?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Second Lady of the United States, Mrs. Karen Pence.
You're a real tough cookie with a long history of breaking little hearts like you wanted me. That's okay, let's see how you
Hello, Pennsylvania! Boy, I've got to tell you, Lancaster is beautiful. It's beautiful. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I have the privilege tonight of introducing my husband, and I'm going to do so by telling you just a little story. I want to take you on a very quick little journey, a synopsis of our political life. So when we started dating, Mike said to me, you know, someday I just want you to know, I want to represent my hometown in the United States Congress. And after we got married, we felt the call to run in 1988. And we ran on the theme of faith, family, and freedom. And we lost. So we decided in 1990, we're going to run again. And Mike ran on the theme, faith, family, and freedom. And I'm sorry to say we lost again. And so we decided to build our dream home. Mike started a radio show. I started a watercolor business. God blessed us with 3 beautiful children. And life was going just great. And then we felt called to run again in the year 2000. And again, we ran on the theme, faith, family, and freedom. And God blessed us with a victory that year. And over the next 12 years, Mike Pence rose to a leadership role in the Congress. He ended up being the 3rd highest member of the House of Representatives. And during that time, we had a small home in Indiana, and Mike likes to say, and a smaller home in Washington. And we raised our children during those 12 years in Congress. And my kids never felt like they were second fiddle to his political career. They never did. I mean, he would leave the Hill, he'd come to a lacrosse game, and he'd go back. He'd leave the Hill, he'd come to a little poetry show, and he'd go back. He'd come to a violin recital, and he would go back. And during those 12 years, unless there was a flight delay, every Sunday, we worshiped together as a family. And during those years, he fought for freedom. So even during the 12 years in Congress, the theme that ran through our home and his career and our lives was faith, family, and freedom. And then we felt called to go home to Indiana and to run for governor. And again, we ran on the theme, faith, family, and freedom. And we were preparing to run for our second term as governor and first lady of Indiana, when lo and behold, somebody called and said, Mike, will you be my running mate? Actually, he didn't say it that way. He said, Mike, it's going to be great. He did, and Mike said, well, if there's a question there, the answer is yes. But President Donald Trump has shown all of us over the past 4 years that he is fighting for our faith, our families, and our freedom. We need 4 more years. Yes. And so we need 4 more years of President Donald Trump, and we need 4 more years of Vice President Mike Pence.
There she stood in the street, smiling from my head to her feet. I said, hey, what is this? Now, maybe she's in need of a kiss. I said, hey, what's your name, baby? Maybe we can see things the same. Now, don't you hesitate. Let's move before they raise the parking lot. All right now, baby, it's all right now.
Well, hello, Pennsylvania. It is great to be here at the Meadow Spring Farm. And isn't she something? Would you join me in thanking a Marine Corps mom who loves our military families, traveling the country, supporting our soldiers, and a great Second Lady of the United States of America, Karen Pence. To my friend, Congressman Lloyd Smucker, how great is he? Been a tremendous ally of our administration, taking the strong stands. Lloyd, we appreciate you so much. And how about a big round of applause for the whole Bollinger family for opening up this spectacular farm. Thank you so much. But I got to tell you, it's good to be with all of you tonight. Just about 2 hours and 7 minutes to go. It's on, Pennsylvania. It's going to be a great night. I can tell you, I left the president earlier today in the Oval Office, and he's ready. We're ready. And tonight we start the steady march to 35 days when we'll re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. I mean, really, truly, it's great to have you all come out tonight. The president's off in Cleveland, 9 o'clock Eastern. You all can check it out right here. But I was talking to him the other day, and I said, well, you know, there's some people invited me to go to Pennsylvania. And he looked at me and he said, you go to Pennsylvania, I'll handle Ohio. And I know he will. I promise you, everybody, come 9 o'clock Eastern, President Donald Trump is going to take our case to the American people, and he's going to take the fight straight to Joe Biden. But I know you all are here for the same reason I'm here. It's not just to watch a debate. It's because you all know that it's not even just for that. But it's because Pennsylvania and America need 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House. And the road to victory goes straight through Pennsylvania. Don't doubt it. You know, 4 years ago, a movement was born. A movement of everyday Americans from every walk of life. Here in Pennsylvania, you believed we could be strong again. You believed we could be prosperous again. Pennsylvania said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016, and I know come November 3rd, Pennsylvania is going to say yes to 4 more years of President Donald Trump. Because think how far we've come. 4 years ago, we inherited a military that had been hollowed out by devastating budget cuts. An economy that under Joe Biden and the last administration was going through the slowest economic recovery since the Great Depression. Terrorism was on the rise around the world, and we witnessed a steady assault on our most cherished values. But in 3 short years, under the leadership of President Donald Trump, with the strong support of leaders in Congress like Lloyd Smucker, we rebuilt our military. We restored the arsenal of democracy. And we're finally giving our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guard the resources and the support that you deserve to accomplish your mission and come home safe. And I got to tell you, I know Karen told you the story of that season in our life when those 3 little kids came along. I got to tell you, I couldn't be more proud that our oldest is a captain in the United States Marine Corps, and our daughter just married a lieutenant in the United States Navy. And that's why I couldn't be more proud as a vice president and a dad to serve alongside a president who cares so deeply about the men and women of our armed forces and their families. And it hasn't been just those who wear the uniform, it's been those who've worn the uniform in the United States. I know there's probably more than a few men and women in the room that served in our armed forces. If you can you just raise your hand in the air and give us a chance to say thank you one more time? Thank you. Thank you for your service. Let's hear it for these veterans, everybody. Come on. It's a debt we can never fully repay, but on behalf of all the people that just stood and cheered, let me say to all the veterans who are here, thank you for your service to the United States of America. Truly a grateful. And in those first 3 years, President Donald Trump stood with our veterans like no president in my lifetime. When Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, you remember the years of scandals at the VA. Literally, veterans were dying, waiting to receive care at our VA hospitals. And in our first year in office, President Donald Trump signed a reform bill that created all new accountability at the VA. We have fired thousands of VA workers that weren't giving our veterans what they need. And now Veterans Choice is now available to every veteran in America. So we stood with our troops. We've stood with our veterans. And under this president, we've stood with working men and women like never before. President Donald Trump rolled up his sleeves in those first 3 years. And I just got to keep mentioning your congressman. With the strong support of Congressman Lloyd Smucker, we cut taxes across the board. We rolled back regulations at an unprecedented level. We fought for free and fair trade. And we unleashed American energy. The fracking revolution is creating tens of thousands of jobs across America. And today, while Joe Biden and his running mate on the record repeatedly about abolishing fossil fuels, Joe Biden said last year, he looked a young woman in the eye and he said, I guarantee we'll abolish fossil fuels. Now he says he's not going to ban fracking, but I'll tell you something. We just need to listen to him the first 4 times when he said he was. But I promise you this, with 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House, we're going to continue to achieve American energy independence, and the best is yet to come for Pennsylvania and America. I mean, where Joe Biden, literally in the middle of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. This president cut taxes across the board, laid a foundation that now, as we're beginning to open up Pennsylvania again, open up America again, we're seeing the American economy come roaring back. In fact, in our first 3 years alone, businesses large and small created 7 million good-paying jobs and 208,000 jobs right here in Pennsylvania. The truth is, we also stood with America's farmers all along the way. I mean, I got to tell you, under Joe Biden, it was economic surrender. Countries around the world. Under President Donald Trump, whether it came to China or our trading partners to the north and south, he made it clear. The era of economic surrender is over. He stood strong for American farmers. He stood strong for American workers. When China started to retaliate against American farmers, President Trump just used some of what we were collecting in tariffs on China and made it available to American farmers. Over $13 billion to support American agriculture. Yeah, we're making farming great again. I love the hat. And one of the ways we did that is when we cut taxes in those first 3 years, we eliminated the death tax for nearly every family farm in America. I mean, the truth is, in our first 3 years, the results speak for themselves. We rebuilt our military. We created and revived a booming economy, the strongest economy in the world. We launched an energy renaissance where today, America is a net exporter of energy for the first time in 70 years. And all along the way, President Donald Trump has stood for the rule of law. He kept his word to the people of this great state, and we've seen more than 200 principled conservatives appointed to our federal courts at every level, including Justice Neil Gorsuch and Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And I can tell you, I've met a lot of these great judges. I've met a lot of them. And they're all men and women who will uphold all the God-given liberties enshrined in our Constitution, like the freedom of speech, the freedom of religion, and the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And you all heard just recently, we marked the passing of a true public servant. Ruth Bader Ginsburg served for decades on the Supreme Court, and we honor her service and her life. But President Donald Trump did his duty under Article 2 of the Constitution that stipulates that the president shall appoint judges to the Supreme Court. And last Saturday night, the president announced his decision to appoint a woman of great character with an incredible family, a principled conservative who reveres the Constitution of the United States. He named the next great justice of the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett. I'll tell you what, when she was confirmed to the Court of Appeals just a few short years ago, one of the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee lamented the fact that her faith, which she called her dogma, lived loudly in her. Well, I got the same dogma. And I'm going to tell you, I had a chance to walk her up the steps of the Senate today to get her started in the process. We got a hearing coming up right around the corner in just a few short weeks. With your support, the support of all of our Republican colleagues, every single one of them we can get, I promise you, Judge Amy Coney Barrett is going to become Justice Amy Coney Barrett. We're going to fill that seat. We're going to fill it. So we've stood for the rule of law through judicial appointments, stood up for all the ideals that you cherish in great places like Lancaster and in places like the small town I grew up in. And every step of the way, President Donald Trump has stood with the men and women who serve on the thin blue line of law enforcement and all our first responders, and we always will. You know, I got to tell you, my uncle was a police officer in Chicago, Illinois for 25 years, and my cousin was married to a firefighter for a quarter of a century in the same city. So we've got first responders in our extended family. I don't know what it's like to put on that uniform, but I know the courage that it takes for them to do it, and I admire it every day. And that's why the president was pleased to announce today that the Philadelphia Firefighters and Paramedics Union Local 22 of the International Association of Firefighters endorsed President Donald Trump for re-election. It means a lot. It means a lot. And we're grateful for the support of firefighters and all our first responders. You know, President Trump and I know what you all know out this way. Men and women who serve in law enforcement are some of the best people in this country. And they deserve the respect of every American every single day. Now, like all of you, the President and I will always respect the right of Americans to peaceful protest. It's enshrined in the Constitution. But rioting and looting is not peaceful protest. Burning businesses is not free speech. Harming and threatening civilians and law enforcement officers will not be tolerated, and those who do these things will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. You know, for months, all Joe Biden ever talked about was peaceful protesters. Remember? All summer long. Literally, while the American people were watching businesses and streets in our major cities literally burn. I made a trip up to Minneapolis not long ago. And we connected with a wonderful woman named Flora Westbrook. Flora is a great African-American businesswoman. She ran a salon that she started about 30 years ago. But she told me through a veil of tears, in the days that followed the killing of George Floyd, how she literally watched the rioters and looters come closer and closer to her business until that Friday night when they burned her out. But I told Flora, we're going to stand with her. We're going to stay with her. And we're going to rebuild. Not only her business, but all of our cities. And we're going to end this violence once and for all. And we're going to have law and order for every American of every race and creed and color. So help us God. I mean, the truth is, Joe Biden and his running mate would double down on the policies that have literally led to violence in America's cities. When you undermine support for law enforcement, when you cheer, as his running mate did, Los Angeles' decision to cut $150 million out of the police budget, you embolden the worst elements of the community. I mean, literally, Joe Biden says that America is, in his words, systemically racist. He also says that law enforcement has a, quote, implicit bias against minorities. When Joe Biden was asked whether he would cut funding for law enforcement, he replied, quote, yes, absolutely. Well, let me make you a promise, Lancaster. Under President Donald Trump, we're not going to defund the police. Not now, not ever. You know, you all know what the president and I know. We don't have to choose between supporting law enforcement and supporting all of the families that live in our major cities. We have done both for the last 3.5 years, and we're going to support law enforcement and support our African American and minority families for 4 more years in the White House. So we made incredible progress in those first 3 years. Rebuilt our military, revived our economy, strengthened the foundation under the rule of law, redoubled our commitment to law and order. And then the coronavirus struck from China. But I'm here to tell you, having led the task force over the last 8 months, that when President Donald Trump made the decision to suspend all travel from China before the end of January, before the first case of community transmission, he saved countless American lives. No other American president had ever suspended travel from another nation. President Donald Trump took that action. He stood up the White House Coronavirus Task Force and bought us an invaluable amount of time to launch the greatest national mobilization since World War II. Joe Biden, when the president suspended travel from China, Joe Biden said it was hysterical, xenophobic, and was fear-mongering. But I can tell you what it was. It was leadership that put the health of America first. And with the time that we bought, we reinvented testing. We just cleared 100 million tests done last week, more than any other nation in the world by far. We developed and helped manufacture literally billions of personal protective equipment. No American who required an ICU bed was ever denied an ICU bed. No American who required a ventilator was ever denied a ventilator. We worked hard with private industry to make sure every American family got the health care that any one of us would want a loved one to have. We've developed medicines that have literally been saving lives every day, and we are on track to have the first coronavirus vaccine before the end of this year and have tens of millions of doses to administer. So we're slowing the spread. We're protecting the vulnerable. We're saving lives. And under the president's leadership, we're opening up America again. On that foundation, the president board, literally in the last 4 months, more than 10.5 million Americans have already gone back to work. I mean, there are more Americans that have gone back to work in the last 4 months than got a job in the 8 years that Joe Biden was vice president. At the height of the pandemic, we lost 22 million jobs. But because of the foundation the president poured, and because of the unprecedented support, Congressman Lloyd Smucker and members of Congress, frankly, in both parties, relief for families, relief for businesses. We've added 10.6 million jobs back, including 580,000 jobs back right here in Pennsylvania. We're opening up America again, and we're opening up America's schools. Yesterday, because of the innovation that the president initiated 6 months ago with our major research companies, we announced in the Rose Garden that we're going to be distributing 100 million point-of-care rapid tests to all the states across the country so they can distribute them to school nurses and school systems so our kids can get back in the classroom and our kids can stay back in school safely. So we've gone through a time of testing. We've seen the president's leadership writ large. And in those first 3 years, you saw this president deliver on all the promises that he made to people in Pennsylvania. But we're coming to a time for choosing, which is what that debate is all about tonight. And I literally can't wait. I can't wait. Somebody said to me, how long has the president been preparing for the debate? I said, all his life. And he's going to lay out not only what we've done, but he's going to lay out the choice. He's going to take the fight straight to Joe Biden. I mean, look, think about the choice that we face here. In the middle of a global pandemic, Joe Biden wants to raise taxes by $4 trillion. President Trump and I, we're going to keep cutting taxes for 4 more years and bring this economy all the way back and then some. Joe Biden, I know the president will bring this up tonight. Joe Biden wants to bury our economy under an avalanche of red tape, beginning with the Green New Deal. You know, the only thing green about the Green New Deal is how much green it's going to cost all of us if they ever pass any of it into law. You know, the truth of the matter is that for all that we did in those 45 days to slow the spread, remember the sacrifices that we made? Where we shut down literally large parts of our economy. We asked businesses and families to make great sacrifices to put the health of America first. Did you know that in those 45 days, we still didn't come close to reaching the emission reductions in the Green New Deal? I mean, their environmental agenda would destroy American jobs. We're going to keep cutting regulation, unleashing energy, and we're going to create millions of American jobs in 4 more years. And as I said before, where Joe Biden was a cheerleader for China, for all of the modern era. You know, when we took office, literally half of our international trade deficit was with China. We were losing $500 billion a year to communist China. And President Donald Trump put him on notice. He said those days are over. We stood up to China. We imposed tariffs to level the playing field for American workers. And Joe Biden is actually talking about repealing all the tariffs that are leveling the playing field. But I promise you, with 4 more years in the White House, we're going to stand strong against China until they open their markets, respect private property, and level the playing field for American jobs and American farmers. We're going to do it. And closer to home, you know, Joe Biden was there when they passed NAFTA into law. I don't have to tell people across the heartland the impact that NAFTA had. Did you know that 60,000 American factories closed in the years from NAFTA to the present day? Remember the last administration? The last president said about 4 years ago right now, he was asked about manufacturing jobs. They'd lost 200,000 manufacturing jobs. And he said they were never going to come back. He said, "What magic wand do you have?" Well, we didn't need a magic wand. We just needed President Donald Trump in the White House. $500,000 manufacturing jobs created in our first 3 years. And with the new trade deal that got rid of NAFTA, the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, it's actually expected to increase exports by tens of billions of dollars, create tens of thousands of jobs. And standing here on this wonderful farm, I'm proud to report, under the USMCA, we're projected to increase dairy exports by more than $300 million a year. That's what winning looks like, Pennsylvania. That's the leadership of President Donald Trump. So it's been about security and prosperity, but it's also been about our most cherished values. And I hope that comes up tonight. I mean, truthfully, when Joe Biden was vice president of the United States, they literally hauled the Little Sisters of the Poor into federal court to force them to compromise their faith to comply with the strictures and mandates of Obamacare. President Donald Trump, when we came into office, we ended the assault on the Little Sisters of the Poor, and the Supreme Court of the United States just made it permanent. Under President Donald Trump, we are going to stand for the religious freedom of every American of every faith every single day. And maybe most important of all, to our little family, and so many of yours. At a time when Joe Biden supports late-term abortion and using taxpayer dollars to pay for abortion all the way up to the moment of birth, I couldn't be more proud to serve as vice president to a president who stands without apology for the sanctity of human life. President Donald Trump is the most pro-life president in American history. I mean, when you look at their agenda, it's clear. Joe Biden would be nothing more than a Trojan horse for the radical left that's overtaken the Democratic Party. Now, Joe Biden said at their convention, I don't know, did you watch some of their convention? I didn't watch much of it either. It was like a Zoom HR meeting or something. But you know, at their convention, Joe Biden said democracy is on the ballot. We might hear him say something like that in the debate tonight. I'll tell you what President Trump and I know is that the economy is on the ballot. Law and order are on the ballot. But you know, we also know there are things more foundational and more fundamental to our country than that. You know, when I think of this election, when I think of those values that my wife shared with you, have always characterized our calling and define the leadership of your president. Commitment to the timeless American ideals of faith and family and freedom. I'm absolutely convinced that come election day, it's not going to be whether America's more conservative or more liberal, whether we're more Republican or more Democrat, more red or more blue. I think the choice in this election is going to come down to whether America remains America. So if you believe in faith and family and freedom and patriotism, we got to decide right here and right now that Joe Biden will never be president of the United States. We're going to re-elect President Donald Trump for 4 more years. It's got to decide, Pennsylvania. You did it before. I know you're going to do it again. So bring all your enthusiasm, all right? And after you see this debate tonight, you'll forget I was even here. Because he's going to bring it. He's going to bring it. But I want you to take the message that you've heard the president talk about tonight. Go talk to your neighbors and friends. If you believe, as I do, what's at stake in this election, you just need you to do what you did before, 4 years ago. I mean, tell them all that we accomplished in those first 3 years together. Tell them what this president's leadership has accomplished through this challenging time in the life of our nation and made it possible for the great American comeback that's underway. And tell them 4 more years means more jobs. Tell them 4 more years means more judges. Tell them 4 more years means more support for our troops. 4 more years means more support for law enforcement and all of our first responders. And tell them I ran into Mike out on the farm and he said it's going to take at least 4 more years to drain that swamp. Well, you go tell him. Because I'm absolutely convinced on this big debate night that what happened in 2016 is happening again all across this country. People aren't listening to the pundits and the so-called elites in Washington, D.C. They're just talking to their neighbors and friends. And I got to tell you, I'll never forget, Karen and I will never forget that election night. We were standing right next to the president. You can go online and look it up. These young people will help you find it. They've got a good picture. We're there at the campaign headquarters, weren't we, dear, in New York City? And every time a state came in, he was standing next to me. He's a little bit taller than me. He would turn to me and he'd just tap me on the shoulder and say, "Look at that." I'd say, "Look at that." He said, "Indiana came in. Great." You see, "Hey, Georgia came in. Good." Right? "South Carolina, good." But I got to tell you, when Pennsylvania came through, I thought he was going to knock me down. So you got to do it again, Pennsylvania. You did it before, and you can do it again. Just have faith. just got to have faith. Just got to have faith. And I think what happened in 2016 is the American people we had faith in one another. We had faith in our highest ideals. We had faith that when you lifted up freedom, the American people had rallied to your cause. So when you talk to your neighbors and friends, have faith. Because I can honestly tell you that a long study of American history shows that in this state, where literally our freedom was minted in that great Constitution, 1787. Every time the American people have been given a clear choice between more freedom and less freedom, they choose more freedom every single time. So have faith when you talk to your neighbors and friends. And I'd encourage you also to have that other kind of faith. If you're inclined to bow the head and bend the knee over the next 35 some odd days, I encourage you to do it. There's a verse in the old book I especially like. It says, the horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory comes from the Lord. So you pray. You pray for a victory, not just for our team, not just for our great supporters around the country, but I mean, let's go out there and win a victory for America come November 3rd. And a victory for everything that has always made America great and will make America great again. Let's go win it. And I'm absolutely convinced, if all of us will do all that we need to do between now and November 3rd, I promise you the President and I are going to be in this fight. You'll see it tonight. And Karen and I are going to head to Salt Lake City next week and do our level best as well. But every single day, I promise you, served alongside him, shoulder to shoulder. When the cameras are off, when nobody's looking, I can promise you. President Donald Trump has never stopped fighting for you. Now it's your turn to fight for him. So let's bring it, Pennsylvania. I'm absolutely convinced that with your strong support, with your strong voice to your neighbors and friends in every day over the next 35 days, Congressman Lloyd Smucker, back in a Republican majority in the United States House of Representatives, with strong conservative leaders elected and reelected all across this state and this nation, with 4 more years of President Donald Trump in the White House, and with God's help, we're going to make Pennsylvania more prosperous than you could possibly imagine. We're going to make all of Pennsylvania and America safer than ever before. And with your strong support, I know in my heart, we're going to make America great again. Again. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless America. It's over.
Still bus driver in a traffic jam, staring at the faces in her rearview mirror, looking at the promise of a promised land. One kid dreams of fame and fortune. One kid helps pay her rent.